Today I'm gonna try and replace this. I've been using this for a very long time. It's just something I wear on my belt every day to carry my flashlight. And this was made a long time ago. And when I first started, I just had something like this and I wet molded around here, clamped it down. Next day took it out and made the rest of them. I've since evolved. I have some sets of molds here that I use for that. And what I found is the best way is to use one of those vacuum seal bags, put it around one of these for about an hour, take it out, remold it, and then put it in one of these molds, and then demold the next day, and then finish it up. However, the problem with that is I still come across something like this. See that there? On the back side, on the front side it looks okay. It's the back side. You can see these here. The stitching is not the greatest. Now this is made a long time ago, and I've since acquired better tools and have become much better with that. The front side is fine, but the back side, well, it is what it is. That's because we got a 10 ounce piece of leather here, and then a 6 ounce. So this is about 16 ounces going through. So getting it to go straight down is quite difficult. So what I did was, when I made a pattern where I punch both sides, put it together, and then sew it. However, to do that accurately and then mold it is not something I have the talent for. So I went and made this, and now if you check the back, it's pretty good there. This is the first prototype. Didn't like that because this is too wide here, and it's not the greatest. So we fixed that with here and changed that to a one piece here, and this I like much better. Again, not the best, but trying to figure out a system. So I finally got to where I wanted, and it sort of looks like this, and you can tell the stitching on the back is much better. Not that the back matters much, but the front is pretty good and the back is pretty good. And I've also found that I like this style better with two buttons, because this one here, sometimes it pops out when it catches something. With the two, it's a little bit better. I also made it with one to try it out, and I still prefer the two. Again, the stitching in the back, it's much better. And this is the one that I use now, and I prefer the two. There's the flashlight. You will need to click it twice, but it's much better. The whole idea was to do it without using a wet mold. Well, that was the initial intent anyway. And the reason is because to wet mold means I'd have to cut out the leather, put it in a vacuum seal bag, wait for an hour, take it out, remold it, put it in the mold, the wooden mold, and then finish up the next day. But I prefer to finish it up today. Like if I started this morning, I want to finish this morning. So I'm going to show you how to make this start to finish in probably less than an hour, I would guess, the full time. So first things first, I'm gonna have to start with a pattern. Like all my patterns, I'm gonna have to cut it all out, stick it to the leather, and then finish it up. Let me go ahead and do that right now. Okay, back to this. There's a longer section and a smaller section. I'll put this on the longer side. So first thing, line up the holes. Okay, then we're gonna sew this. Be right back. Okay, next we do the same here. Let's get some light here. I'm gonna line up the holes. Oops. Next would be same exact thing here. I'm gonna line up all the holes. Where's there it is. Get some help here. Okay, get it all lined up. Okay, I got that piece done there. Now I said I was going to wet mold, but that just means I'm not going to use the mold, the wet molding mold, I guess. Still going to use some water down here. Right down here. Let that soak in. Maybe I shouldn't have put wax to the edge. Well, I didn't put wax to the edge. Right. It's going to bend this up here. Sometimes one of these will help. It's going to hold it right there. Bend that up there. Same here, right down here. Okay. This is going to go right there. Same deal. Line up the holes. And then stitch it up. for here, actually helps if you have something like this. So when you put in a stitching pony, you can grab onto something. I'm going to stitch that again. Be right back. Okay, still all one piece. I just double stitched that corner. I'm going to double stitch this one again. This will help a little bit. Not necessary though. This is only a 6 ounce. It's quite malleable. However, anything to make it easier. Okay. And I'll go stitch this. Doing something like this in here helps. I can clamp this in the stitching pony. Be right back. Okay, just about finished there. This whole thing is going to take less than an hour to complete. And I forgot what the length was, but it was a little long. You can see I got, what's that? Over 30 inches left. So now need to figure out where the buttons are going and cut it to length, I guess. Put these back here. I know I said it in the beginning, or I may put it in the thumbnail, that this is we're making a holster without wet molding. And I mean, we're not going to use the mold, the wet mold. Not going to use this to make it, or the vacuum seal bag. Still going to wet mold it a bit, but we'll get to that. So the bottom is still undone. I'm going to leave that till the end. And, I can round off these and take care of these edges. But now, just trying to get this set up. Right about there. Okay. Where was that? Looks like it was right there. There. Okay. Let's find about center. And this. Kind of close. A little crooked. Okay. Let me go put that in and I'll be right back. Not sure what happened. These things kept popping off when I went to test it. I snapped it, opened it, and this was on there. I guess that's what's happened when you buy cheap snaps in bulk from China. I put a different brand here, and that one seems to be holding, but like 3 in a row I replaced and it just popped right off. Anyhow, I'm going to try and get this as straight as possible. can always sand it later if it's a little crooked, but I want to try and cut down on as much work as possible. Eh, see how that looks. Oh, pretty straight. That'll work. Okay, as you can see now it's time to actually wet mold it. See how this one's nice and stiff? You can see. And this one's not. So now we're gonna actually go and wet mold it, which is not really wet molding in the wet mold itself. But I'm gonna go put the logo on, and I'm gonna wet this down, and I'll be right back. All right, it's thoroughly wet. Now, I'm gonna get the bottom molded nicely first, and so it's kind of even. Once it's pretty even, you don't have to do this. Actually, if you don't use this, this comes out rounder. However, I'm just gonna stick this in here. I'm gonna try and mold the bottom so it looks even. Just gonna do that with your hands there. And then the sides, want it to be kind of flat. Now you don't want it to be like this where it's bowed. See, it kind of bows that away, it bows that way. So I want it to be nice and flat. Okay. Forgot an important piece here. Just a leather piece I cut out. You can make it out of wood or leather, or just a scrap piece of leather. Get in there. Okay. Leather is very soft, so if you touch it by accident, it will move very easily. So handle with care here. Maybe I over soaked it. It's very soft. Final product, I want this bent down a little bit, these corners here. That. It kind of curves down. You can do it however you want. Like that. Remember, however you got it now, is this kind of how it's going to look when it's done. I have one of those air oven things. I'm going to put it in there for 10 minutes at 205. I think anywhere between 200 and 220 should be okay. I'm just going to go with 205 today. And whatever you put it on, like has a metal grating, it's going to leave a mark. You see like that? I got a mark right there because it sat on the metal grating like that. So make sure you don't put it this way. Put it this way in there so the mark's on the bottom or the back. One last check. That is straight. That is straight. Straight. Bottom looks okay. I mean, this side's a little lower than that side, but there you go. This is bent down. Like that. Okay, I'm going to put it in the air oven. Again, today, 205, I think, but humid, maybe 210. I'm going to go 210 at 10 minutes, and then I'll be right back. Okay, 10 minutes have expired. It looks pretty straight there. It looks pretty straight there. Right there. Bottom looks okay. It's a good shape. I like it. This looks okay. So, I'm going to take this out. Put this back. I'm going to put it back in there. Now this time at 200 for 10 minutes. It's still dark. It was a bit too wet when it was in there, and because this was in there, it didn't dry out this that well. So I'm going to go for 10 more minutes at 200, and I'll be right back. Oops, I forgot to mention. If it didn't turn out the shape you want, you still have time to remold it. You can see the mark right there. It's from the grating on the bottom. The shape looks fine. I'll be right back. Seems to be dry now, and this is something I look out for. It's in my fingernail right there. I got a couple of marks in there. Ooh, buttons are hot. Ooh, and I forgot to take this out. So it's still wet right there. You can kind of see it. But I'm going to let it sit here for about 10 minutes to cool off. Metal is pretty hot. This is still a bit soft right there. You can see that flexes right there. It's because it's still a bit wet. But this is now pretty hard. So I'm going to let it sit here for about 10 minutes and let it cool off. And now start sanding this, rounding these corners here, sanding all of this here. But let that sit for about 10 minutes and see how it goes. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes. Total time about an hour. It seems to have separated there a bit, but it can't be helped. Actually, I'll just go and dye it and be right back. Oh. Okay, we got it all dyed. That's what it looks like. You can see it there. You can see what color dye I used too. So, I'll just continue this right here. And they're pretty much almost the same. You can see the stitching is much better because we didn't have to go through the two thicknesses. I used 6-ounce leather to start with. This is all just 6-ounce leather. And I guess that should do it. Flashlight. And because we baked it, this thing is solid. As opposed to, let's see, one that, it's the same 6-ounce leather here. see, there's no way to snap this. I didn't bake this one. This one was baked. You can easily just snap the leather there. So that should do, I think. Finally done. I'm gonna clean my hands. But this should take about an hour. It took an hour to complete everything. Probably another 20 more minutes, I guess, to dye it, to get to this color. And I guess if you spend a little bit more time sanding this down, you'll probably get rid of that tiny blemish there. We sanded it down a little bit more and varnished it a little bit better. But I kind of like that, so I'm going to leave it. That's what it looks like the back. There's a little gap there. I can see there's a little gap there for your belt. So it looks like from front. Make sure you actually dye this part too. Makes it look better. And look at this one. See, it's not dyed. Doesn't look as good. Guess that should end it in there today.